let's go over what we did last week. Of Cholov Cholov Yisroel, and what they are now called Cholov Stam. The Moshe's main heter is that in Shulchan Aruch it says that even if the Jew doesn't see actually the milking, but he can stand up and look, so there's mirsus, that the goy is afraid to do something wrong, and that's why it's mutter. So he said that today the government makes sure that they cannot, they're afraid to mix anything else in. So they asked him if they're afraid to mix anything in, the fine is very, very small. So he answered that the company's name is more, it would be ruined, and they're afraid for that their name. So therefore, it's mirsus. They're not going to play around. That's his main heter. Therefore, he says since the whole thing is because of mirsus, so even if I'm going to learn that it's this is how the Chachamim wanted, and even if there's no davar tamei, it's aser be'edrei. But the reason they asked it, they asked it because of Cholav Akum. But you see, if there's mirsus,
then it's fine.
Then it's fine. So here it's mirsus, so that takes away the shayla. That's his heter, right?
Now we discussed the other problem.
Okay, now today is a different problem.
It's not only today. Then too, it was the problem.
No.
Well, they didn't do the surgeries then?
They didn't do the surgery. I took my time this week on this. And an animal has 4 stomachs. And sometimes the 3rd and 4th stomach get twangled. In the olden times, the farmer used to put, and how do they know? When the animal doesn't eat right, and they see it's not feeding right, that means there's something wrong with the digestive system, so they realize that there's something there. So they used to put the animal on the floor, and with the hands they used to play around, and they used to move it, massage it, and they used to move it. It didn't last very long. It could have come back. So the person had to be on top of it, the farmer had to be on top of it. Now if you have a few hundred cattle, right, a sheep, or they can have now 1,000. You know, you have to be always on top of it to make sure, because
it was a death sentence.
Because in a few days, if it's going to die. So now they came up with the idea of DA that they make this operation. They make a hole in the stomach, and they put like a screw with a spring. So if the stomach wants to start moving, it pushes it back. But there's a hole in the stomach. A hole in the stomach makes a treif. So when Reb Moshe speak about his heter in the 1950s, they didn't do this operation. So I don't know if Reb Moshe today would paskin the same way how he paskin then, because there was no idea of mirsus.
This is Cholov Treifa.
And this is Cholov Treifa.
Also, if you think about it, there were just these stories around, I think, England, America, when, forget about milk, they were using the actual meat of horses and of things. And this is also big companies with big names.
Right.
And you see that didn't so much prevent them from using meat that
we
was...
had a whole thing in a big Treifa chain with its this
is billion-dollar companies.
Yeah, billion-dollar companies. Okay.
Why would a guy who has a little bit of kosher milk worried about the...
Right. So this is what we learned last week, right? Now, Reb Moshe alone says that we should be machmir. He himself only used Cholov Yisroel. And for the Moshe of Torah, I sent you what he writes about a Moshe, right? That a school, since it's chinuch, they should make sure that they have a Cholov Yisroel because of chinuch. Okay.
Is that Cholov Yisroel for everything like butter and cream cheese?
And now we'll soon get to it. Soon get to it. That's Cholov Yisroel. Now there goes Gevina Sakum. Gevina Sakum, people never even heard about it. They have Cholov Yisroel. They don't understand what means Gevina Sakum. Shulchan Aruch Siv Ben Kuftes Vav Siv Bei says that cheese, generally you make cheese with rennet. Rennet is a piece of a stomach of the animal which is very, very sharp, and it helps to congeal the milk and turns the milk into cheese. You can call it a starter, a culture, a starter. And it's made from a rennet generally is made from a non-kosher animal. Now, rennet, you don't put a lot of rennet in it. It's a very small portion of it. But since it's a dava hamaimet, something what makes it to congeal, so halacha is hadava hamaimet loy bottle. Something what makes something to congeal, or makes the thing to keep it together, whatever it is. It never becomes nullified in 60 to 100, 1,000, because it's always there. What means nullification? Nullification means that a drop of milk fell into some meat, and you have 60 times as much against it, so you don't feel the taste of the milk. So therefore it's kosher. Why? Because the milk became butter. But if it's a dava hamaimet, what makes the whole thing to be, so even if it will fall in 100 times as much, it will never become butter. Why? Because you see the cheese, and you know the cheese were made, it's there because of the rennet. So therefore the Chachamim acid prohibited gevinas akum, cheese made by a non-Jew. In the Shulchan Aruch it says that even if they didn't use the rennet, they used asabim, different types of flowers, or grasses, or so forth, and they went vegetarian, that it's still awesome. Because since there are places in the same country what makes it this way and other makes it that way, so the Chachamim didn't want to go, by this guy it's permitted, by this guy it's awesome. Finish. It's always awesome. Now the Ramah says, what?
There's no head of Ramesh.
No, there's no head. It's a light plug. There's a light plug. No. So the Ramah says that if the yid was there the whole time, as by milk it's kosher, the same thing by cheese it's kosher. The Shach argues with him, says by milk we will matter it, by cheese you have to have a Jewish person getting involved. As by bread, the Jew has to throw in a piece of wood. As by cooking, the Jew has to do something. The same thing over here, the Jew has to get involved. So he gives an eitzah. Either the Jew buys the cow, like he rents the cow for those days when he needs to make the cheese, so it's his cows. So then there's no gevinas akum. Why? Because the goy is now working for me, and it's my cows. Or he buys the milk before he makes the cheese. So it's my milk. So once it's my milk, so the goy is working on my milk, there's no idea of gevinas akum. And that's what the Shach says. And there goes in the Achronim, if the Ramah, could we rely on the Ramah or not? Most today, they have to get a Jewish involved. So when they make the rennet, first you have to have kosher rennet. We'll soon explain how. Number two is the mashgiach has to be there, and the mashgiach has to put the rennet into this big vats. Now a vat could be as big as a spoon. Now, to understand making cheese, there is the cream, then there is the whey. The rennet separates the congealed stuff from the whey, the liquid. 10 pounds of milk, they don't do by gallons, they go by pound. 10 pounds of milk make 1 pound of cheese. So you understand, when you go into a big company to make cheese, you don't go for 100 gallons. You go into these big companies, you're making 20,000 pounds of cheese, 30,000 pounds of cheese at one shot. All the different cheeses what you want to make, right? So you need let's say you're making 30,000 pounds of cheese, all the different cheese, cheddar, this one, yellow, American, whatever, all the different cheeses what you want to make. Right? So you need all this milk. That means you need 300,000 pounds of milk. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So how did now we have a problem? First of all, the milk farm is in one place. The cheese plant generally is not always by the milk farm. So you have to milk a few days, or you have to get a few farms to milk. So let's say a farm will milk you 50,000 gallons of milk a day. You needed 300. So they start Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So from one place they have already 200,000 pounds. And then they go to another farm and they get another. And Thursday they start, let's say, with the cheese, making the cheese. So what happens? It's stood in these big vats. Tall vats, they're keeping the milk. And generally milk they can keep to 72 hours. They keep for 3 days. They can keep it, right? So then, it's kavush.
But we said they
They're
clean
doing
it.
kavush. It's kamavushal.
Didn't we say it's cold for
A
starters?
cold, but
And
cold
they wait
something
20
what stands for 24 hours becomes kavush.
Right, but if it waited 24 hours and they cleaned the cold
Well,
thing,
now,
What's cover?
kavush means pickled.
Pickled?
Yeah, let's say you put something up, you make a brine and you put meat into it, so it becomes like pickled meat. So
It's edible,
kavush
right?
means. So the thing is like this: in these big factories, they work 24/7. They have animals and they milk them at least twice a day or 3 times a day. So nothing stops. So it's very hard to get a place where the thing will stop
you have to
for
look the
24
cows,
hours.
right?
So you have a problem to storing the milk. You'll have a problem to pasteurizing the milk. Right? Well, they pasteurize the milk.
But why would that be a problem?
Because if it doesn't stop, you'll soon see. So if we start by milking, if he's only doing milk, so we can say we can go to a plant what let's say doesn't work on Sunday or the weekend, and you will what? And you will start milking on Sunday. They didn't use in the weekend, so then the tank is the pasteurizer is an Eina Venier. I mean, it wasn't used for 24 hours, so they take hot water. Anyways, it goes hot water, liquid. They have hot liquid, and you bring up the pasteurizer at 212 degrees. You kosher it, and then later you bring through the milk. But if you need 3 days milk, so the tank has to hold the milk for 3 days or 2 days. So these tanks, what are holding these big tanks, what are holding the milk, after 24 hours, the milk is now absorbing the issa of the Cholov Akum in the tank. So what's the heter? So now they have to cleanse the tank because of contamination. So they have to shoot in hot water with some soap or something what they call it. I forgot what they called it. And and to what?
Kill the bacteria.
To kill the bacteria. So they are poigim the what?
I think if it's on
The tank.
on the right heat level.
It's not,
Why?
It's
because it's pagan.
It's poigim. It's poigim. Now, generally, they want it at least. They don't bring it up to boiling, but they want it at least not to bring it cold. They have to have. You cannot do a cold be poigim with cold. They have to clean. You have to have hot water. So generally, they want 165 or 68, 170 degrees, which is pretty hot. So that is what cleanses through. That's number one. So they're poigim. Understood? Then they put the milk in. Now between the old milk being pumped out and the new milk coming in, there was a time period because you had to cleanse it out. It doesn't take a minute. So when you start pumping in the new milk, right, let's say take an hour. Say it take an hour even. So when does this tank become Eina Ben Yoimei? 23 hours. When does it become kavush, pickled? 24th hour. The tank was what? Eina Ben Yoimei. So it doesn't ask. Shachin Kufay wants to
Why do you
say
need the
that
oven?
even if it's at the same second, because the same second when it becomes kavush, comes Eina Ben Yoimei, but mahalt nicht von him.
Why do you need the pogum then?
First
It's
of all,
Eina Ben
you
Yoimei,
have to
right?
clean it. This helps you because you have to clean it, and you also have to make sure you don't have any cholov akum in it.
So that's the cleaning I'm saying.
The
That's
clean-
the extra.
Okay,
you know,
we'll soon get to it. The cleaning, but that cleaning helps. Another thing is they figured out that America they want these tanks to have stainless steel. Now, to make such a thing of stainless steel is a lot of money. So what do they have? The outside is more aluminum. Then they make thin sheets of stainless steel, and that's the inside coating of these tanks. So therefore, you don't have to have a shishim against the thickness of the wall. You only have to have shishim against what? 60 times as much
the thin.
against the thin layer. And you have, if you fill it up more than halfway, you have already shishim against what? The thin layer inside. That's number one. Now the truck has to come. And the truck has to come, and that truck has to what? Take the milk to
The factory.
the factory. So the mashgiach has to go and get on top of the truck and open it and make sure it was what?
Clean.
Cleaned well. If not, he's going to have to take a hose and clean those trucks. Then afterwards, he has to seal it. So the tank has to be sealed. The what?
Truck has to be clean and
The
sealed.
truck has to be sealed. Now they're taking it to this factory. Now there's one more thing. The mashgiach also has to make sure that the animals did not have this. We spoke about. Now, so they have the company itself. Every animal has a number, and they keep a record. Because an animal for a certain amount of years, it's good to milk. Then afterwards, they sell it for meat. And they have to alone keep a record, and if an animal is sick, they have to always have
Have a record of how much
veterinarian,
every animal produces.
and a number, and the health of the animal, and so forth. Because if the animal is sick, they have to send it out. You don't want to contaminate the milk. So the mashgiach has to go through the records and to make sure that what? They give them a list which animals have this this problem, which one don't.
They're gonna play around.
Huh?
Know where they're gonna play around.
They're not going to play around because you can check it out. Because you have a list and you can go into the computer and check what's with there. So that's also, and Shulchan Aruch says even a kid could be a mashgiach. Today a kid cannot be because the mashgiach has to know which animals. Okay. Now you come to the pasteurizing. Now pasteurizing, we have a problem. If the pasteurizer didn't stay for 24 hours, so it's a ben yomai. The pasteurizer is hot. So what do? Now here goes the idea of plague. They first have to run through their liquids, and their liquids is also very, it's full of, the steam is full of chemicals, what runs through the pipes. So there's pipes going in of hot steam with water, and there's other pipes of milk, and one heats the other. Understood? So you have to kasher it once, then lower it to 212. Now, Reb Moshe writes in a tshuva about kashering a pasteurizer, which is a ben yomai, that even though that I was matir the whole thing, but when you kasher from Cholov into Cholov Yisroel, you have to do it at 212. It's not kabbalah kachpota. He says it has to be reichsen, and that's it's in his tshuvas in Yeridea. Yeridea chelik beis siman lamed aleph. He says 212. No monkey business. So other guys, they only pasteurize it to 180, so I'll bring it up to 190. He writes, no. You have to, when you kasher it, has to be 212. And I'm showing also about the tshuva like that. That has to, even though because it becomes asa by yatzeletis, but kasher has to be reish. Now when they kasher it, they have to have enough hot water, as much as how long that milk is there. The milk is there 15 seconds when it goes through the pipes. They hold it for 15 seconds, so you have to hold it like 17, 18 seconds, and then go through. They kasher it once, and then afterwards they pull it down till it becomes not yatzeletis, right? Because you cannot cool off right away and put in cold water, you'll bust it. They leave out all the first water, and then they kasher it again. It's 2 times. And Al Tzurab and Tov Nun Beis brings a Beis Yosef and Kuf Tesbov at the end of the Beis Yosef. It brings no. I'm sorry, that's something else. In Tov Nun Beis, the Al Tzurab brings that also that if you kasher twice, ben yomai, it can help you, because the first time it becomes also because of the whole cheshbon. So they kasher it twice. So that's how many cheese are made. It's with a ben yomai, kashering twice. First they're purging it, because they have to clean it out, and they bring it up at least 170 degrees when they're purging it, and then later they kasher it twice to 12. And then they let the milk go through. Understood? That's physically how it's being done.
Yeah, but it's only the pasteurizer that's kosher twice, not the tanks, correct?
No, the tanks doesn't. The
There's
tanks
no
are
heat,
cold.
there's never a heat.
Cold. This is hot. Now, the rennet. What do you do with the rennet? The rennet is treif. So over here, the Beis Yosef brings, and then of Kuf Tesbov, that you have Cholov Chomutz, that you have milk which is sour, what you are going to use to make it a starter, a culture. So if you do it 3 times, you do the kosher 3 times. So the 4th time, the 3rd time, you do it 3 times. So the 3rd time, your kosher, you could use and it won't ask to make the 4th.
Meaning,
That means they take a cup, they make a kosher, they put the rennet in it, and
This
then
is
it
the tray for
shells. Yeah. Then you take now that milk that you made,
you make another one.
and you make another one from it. From the one, another one, you make a 3rd one. Now it has the power of the rennet. Then from the 3rd one, you're going to put into the 4th one. It doesn't usher anything.
Only the
because
first one was treifa milk. The next 3 were kosher milk, obviously.
Yeah, but it's still treif
Right, till the 4th one.
till the 4th one. By the 4th one, it's not. And Al Rebbe brings it in Hilchos Pesach, in Tov Mem Beis, about a person about making that by the 4th one. It's already good. And that's how they make now the kosher stuff. They have to make it 3 times. Now they can make it in the lab. Make it 3 times, and they make it's very potent. Once they have the kosher in it, or some of them now they're saying they're going microbiotic, or they're going to a vegetable and so forth, which is not treif. I don't know. Do they have nothing of rennet in it? Others want to say yes, others want to say no. But then the
And you
mashgiach.
can only make rennet only comes from treif, right?
No, it could rennet can come from a kosher animal too. If
So
it
why
comes
do
from
they
a
do
kosher
they need to,
animal,
why today do they need to use treif then to turn it into 4?
Practically speaking, that's what most of it comes from.
that's when most of the companies have it. You're buying it by big companies. You're not buying it by
But you
a
could
kleine
make
shop.
kosher. you're saying.
Yes, if you did that, then it wouldn't be a problem. I mean, these are the big companies, right? In Europe also, so what happened, they use rennet. Some of them saying they're now getting vegetable rennet. They have found a way to make it. Is it entirely vegetable? I do not know. I'm not going into it. Now the mashgiach has to put the rennet into the milk. Now the rennet has to be exactly the right time when they put it in, and it has to be the right amount. Now we say these vats of 40,000. They put, I don't know. They put 40. They don't put. They put. Was it? Is it 40 ounces of it or what? A very small amount. And that goes into a thing of 40,000 pounds of water. I mean, and that's the starter. What makes everything move. And the mashgiach has to be there to put in the stuff, because he has to get involvement into it, and without that rennet, the cheese wouldn't be cheese. So the Yid made the cheese. No, many big
Shach.
companies. What?
You said that's according to the Shach, I believe. It says
Yeah,
has
the
to be
shach,
involved.
and he has to get involved. That's how it fits. So, but yeah, but if you didn't, for sure, those who are Yetziv and Nichnas and so forth, not there the whole time, right? For sure, you have to have that. Them there. Now the shaila is if cream cheese today or cottage cheese need that same nekuda. So Moshe in a tshuva wants to write that maybe not, maybe that wasn't the Issa of Gvina. But on the other hand, he doesn't want to come out to say that it's good. He wants to say those who eat it, no, they have on what to rely on. But he says, I'm not saying that you should go out in the street and say that it's awesome.
What's the difference? It's not hard cheese. It's not a typical.
It's not that,
it's
that
made
wasn't the normal.
It's not hard
what they
cheese.
meant.
You say.
And the other ones want to say it's like a sour smetana or sour things or so forth, but that wasn't the Issa of Kavina. Others want to say, no, cream cheese and all that stuff is part of cheese and it's a produce and they have to have the same idea of the rennet. So he wants to say that it could happen by itself. And therefore, since they do it with rennet and they do it with everything, they should have the same type of hashgacha as what? As hard cheese. Others say they don't have to. Therefore, you can find in different companies what they call cholov stam, that you see that the cheeses have some type of a hechsher, the hard cheeses don't. Because they don't have a mashkiach tmidi over there on the cheeses. That's the shaila. Because a hard cheese, for sure, you have to have a mashkiach the entire time there.
What do you mean, from Mitchila Chaliva?
No, we're talking for Cholov Yisroel for sure.
Right.
Even if it's not Cholov Yisroel,
Oh.
they have to have a yid over there.
Right.
The Gvinas Akum is treif. Now in Shulchan Aruch you find about butter. The butter they were matter. Today butter is also mixed with many other things. It's not like the old time butter that was what clapping away the butter and it became butter, and then we say that butter cannot become from cholov trefa cannot be turned into butter, and since cholov trefa cannot turn into butter, therefore in a certain place there are matter butter.
What happens if it's 100%
Today
butter?
butter is also mixed in other ingredients into butter.
Let's say that,
Therefore, butter has to have a hechsher. And you can't just say butter was never under the Isser, and therefore butter is what?
It's also made in
It's
packaging factories, I'm sure, with everything.
That's-
No,
that's
but
where
they're
it's mixed
adding
in.
now things into the
Lav
butter.
dafka,
It wasn't, it's not like it used to be. Everything today is mixed because they're making it faster and so forth, and everything is. But that is concerning Ravina. So, you have any questions?
Not yet, I'll save it.
You'll save it. Don't save it too long. Okay?
We did how-
Now.
Last time we did how?
When they say that thing is kasha to 212, not every place is 212. It depends, sea level, other places. So other places, it has to be boiling. So other places, 212 is boiling. Other places, 207 could be boiling. So when you say it was kasha to 212, it means it was done what? With boiling.
Well, I mean, if they're saying that they're doing it 212, that's what they're doing it, whether it's sea level or not.
No. That's
They bring it only to a boil, and they claim that that's what it is.
They wish they made the water, I guess, to
I
boil it,
understand.
they
I
don't.
understand that.
That when
But
they
my
say
shaila is, when
212
they say
means
212
boiling.
is lav dafka, they only mean boiling?
Boiling,
Okay.
yes. That's what you have to know. So it doesn't mean there. So everything in wine doesn't. You don't need 212. It goes.
You can't have 212, it'll spoil the wine.
But I mean, it's mavushal is a whole different
No bubbles, no bubbles.
right.
That's for another share.
All right, but I'm only saying. So we have to remember when we say 212, we don't mean
Literally.
exactly 212. It means that it's bubbling. Okay, and the term they're using again is for the vats is that it's kavush k'mavushal, and it's not in 24 hours. It happens after 24 hours of the chalav akum. The pasteurizer is kasher twice, right? In many of the places, and the rennet is made 4 times. You know, they make it till they start to make the rennet, and the mashkiach again has to be there. I mean, when
He has to put it in.
the whole thing, huh?
Just the misasik.
He has to be misasik in it, because it's not if it's kavina saku, even if we'll see it. And for us, cottage cheese, we're machma the same thing like what? Like hard cheese.
In Welt, how do they look at it?
Why?
When you buy it?
Because But Moshe alone says that he cannot come out and say it's mutter, but on the other side, there's supposed to say that it's not. So there's a supposed to say that since they are using granite, poil, so as the Shaila of Gevina was because of the rennet, so anything what they use as a starter, or a yogurt, or anything what you do, once it's a Shaila of what? Of rennet, so then what's the difference if it's if it's hard cheese or soft cheese? So his kind of is yogurt also they have to have it. So his kind of is that if you leave it by itself, it would happen. It's only making faster. It's but
Yogurt's not that way, by the way.
Yogurt,
Yogurt, the original culture, you need a special culture. That is taka.
you need a special culture.
It's not the same that like cottage cheese or hard cheese, which could actually start by itself.
Right. Okay.
So it's more common.
So even yogurt is more common than cottage cheese by sour cream. So but Lapoil, since they're using these starters in these cultures, so therefore many people are machmer. Why? Because what's the difference between Gevina and cream cheese? Lapoil, they're using it.
How do the companies look at it today?
Huh?
How do they come? So if you're a kosher company, so it makes a difference anyhow, right? If you're a kosher company who's doing a Cholov Yisroel process, so it makes a difference to cottage cheese and hard cheese.
Right.
But that's why you can find these Goyish companies that have, like Philadelphia, their cream cheese will have a hechsher, but
because they're going
won't.
with the spot that cream cheese was never on the since it could come by itself, the cream cheese and so forth. So it's only to help
It's
it.
Cholov Vacuum.
So therefore,
It's not Gvina Sakum, it's Cholov Vacuum.
It's Cholov Vacuum. And the same thing, cottage cheese. Nutzins or what cottage cheese we could have. I don't know if it's for the duff. I don't know which ones can have a hechsher. Is because they look through the ingredients and so forth.
So today, how do we look at butter? Forget about what they said about what the Shulchan Aruch wrote about butter. That once upon a time it was
Today butter.
Today it's like cream cheese or hard cheese.
Butter is the same thing like anything else. If you have to have a good hechsher.
But is it looked at enough?
But
But again, because butter doesn't eat rennet.
So it's looked at as cream cheese.
But you have to have a good hechsher.
And say Cholov Yisroel?
Because for us, for sure, Cholov Yisroel.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, so
We're not much because of that. Because the concept is they mix so much stuff into it. You have to have a hechsher.
But otherwise, it has
So
to say
there's no butter today where you say it doesn't need a hechsher, and there's no cream cheese or cottage cheese where you could say it doesn't need a hechsher. Even if those who hold of this new concept, this concept of Moshe of Cholov Stam, it still needs a hechsher because of all the stuff what they put into it. So it's not chema like in the time of Shulchan Aruch. What was the guy didn't put in anything into it.
What about raw products? Would you need the same?
Once we do Cholov Yisroel, so everything needs a hechsher, and you have to have a yid there.
Right. So when the
Right, and the yid has to be there before the milking to make sure that everything is clean. And this is one of the problems with a lot of these places where they come and the guy comes in the middle of the milking. Thank you.
in Aleph it said
And they want to say in the middle of milking is okay, but you didn't check the vessels. You didn't check the vat. Did it have maybe milk before, and they're just adding milk.
You're talking about what? What?
I'm talking the milking.
No, in regular, you're saying stam products. You're saying not necessarily.
Raw things.
I mean, the kahila gives a hechsher on raw milk. That's stuff.
Okay, so therefore the mashgiach was there when they
So
were
it's
milked
good,
it.
yeah,
Yes,
The Mechaber
yes.
says that you could do that. And then- No, that you don't have to come. I feel
But that takes away all the pasteurizing issues.
It's a
Raw.
Yisrael. I feel any.
Yeah, but again, you need a mashgiach there for the milking.
Right.
Yeah, it's the number.
Yeah, we spoke
Yeah.
about that. Here we're talking that it's the Yiddish. It's a Yiddish's behemoth, and therefore.
Aber bei ihm in Stub.
he has, the goy is milking by him. Now, Yid is not, the goy is not milking by,
By his own house? After the end, you saw
alright, here. Hayachal v'yisol yeshim b'chutz, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Im yidur shein davar tam be'edrei mutter.
right.
Even he can't see it when he milks. Because what? Because he sees that he's not bringing anything in.
Right. And the guy is thinking that maybe, you know, the Jew is looking over his shoulder, and that's why it's
That's if it's the
Sheyar
double
Shema Yamad V'yiro, V'hu Sheyed Shecholov Tami Asur Yisrael. Also,
okay, we
but a
spoke
guy
about
doesn't-
that. Now, again, the goyim many times don't know what they're looking for. So
Right.
or the goyim today are smart and they know what you're looking for,
and hide
so
it.
therefore they're hiding it.
Yeah.
That's also a very big problem. The guy is going to he's going to lead you in to believe that everything is good.
Come,
You
Rabbi,
understand?
here, I'll take you here.
No. You ask him on this factory, did you anything was here yesterday? No, it's sealed. Nothing wasn't used, and so forth. And then you ask the guy who's drains the Haram, and he tells you that these and these things you see on up there. And this was done yesterday. You understand?
Yeah.
So he's telling you it's Eina Ben Yoimai.
Now, milchike objects don't need the same stamps, right? The same seals like fleishike objects do.
That already we're going to learn some money, and that's we're going to learn that Gevina does need. We're going to have that's what we're going to learn. That's not now. That's what we're going to learn in Kuf Yud Ches, that the guy made Gevina, and he left it by the goy, right? That you need one simon, a thing of Midaraisa needs two simonim, a thing of the Rabbanan needs one simon, right? So therefore,
So the same thing would apply when they transport, but the milk is different or no? When they
the
transport
milk, when they
from-
plant it, they have to seal it.
Is it two seals in it?
No, but milk is one seal sufficient.
I think cheese would have a different halacha than milk because we're more machmer on Yiddish.
No, again, we are machmir for cholov, but again, one seal is sufficient because it's a drabanan.
The Mechaber is very machmer on Chema. It says, Vim Reuv B'nei Amokim Nergen Issa in L'Shanis.
This is the halacha.
Right. No, I'm saying he's machmer.
All right,
No.
but
Yeah, sorry, Rabbi.
again, Roi B'nei Amakim, but there are many people who felt that Chema they were mutter. So again, there are people who are machmer by Chema, there are people who are maker by Chema. But today you cannot be maker by Chema without a good hechsher.
I understand, but I mean, the Mechaber is very machmer about it.
Again, but he says if a guy goes from a place where they're mutter to not,
Yeah, he's okay with it.
I'm not going into, you want to learn inside and then an inner.
No, okay. Whatever. No, we don't have to learn it inside.
Ein meichen lansha machen nirgend bei Härte. You're not
Right.
meichen the one the matter. Wir mögen nirgend is in the shanis. Machen shein minnig in bishlat shof zu cholot matas. So he's saying that again.
Straight.
You're not meichen the
have it.
people who are
Right.
matter. If most
Right.
people are Härte, is. But again, Chema is already different because they
Right.
warned Goizer and Chema because Cholov Tomei cannot congeal. But again, today they mix many things into it, so you cannot. They can sometimes use also the whey of what? Of cheese to put into the butter. They put even whey into margarine. So therefore, in the way is could be who knows, could be the way you got the whey from rennet, and rennet was a treif of rennet, and that's how you got the whey. So then the whey is treif. So therefore, in time over there, they didn't have the chema. They didn't make with today how they manufacture today.
I came a little bit late, so I have a question with regard to rennet. Whey is made in rennet?
No.
cheeses are made in
Milk is made
rennet.
up of two parts.
Till
It
made,
has
and there's
the-
mei cholov,
Right.
and there's the cholov,
Right.
two parts. When they put the rennet in, the rennet separates the whey from the other part of the milk.
Okay.
Called
Curds.
curds.
Curds, right.
Curds. Okay. So the whey, so the rennet separates the curds from the whey. So the curds comes into cheese, and then the whey is separated, and then it's used for other stuff. And that's why we explained before that from 10 pounds of milk you get 1 pound of cheese, because all the rest, 90%, is whey, or even mechal, of even. So they, if things are mixed with whey has to have a hechsher on it. Because if it doesn't have a hechsher on it, so then the whey could be what? Could have something of the rennet.
Got it.
And so therefore you have to be we have to be very careful.
Points this way they use in a lot of products. I saw in certain punches.
There are a lot of things. Even that's why when you buy margarine, it's a margarine. You have to look if it says parv. It could have a hechsher, and it doesn't say parv because they put in the white.
It's the gum dairy creamer, which also has that.